Prime Minister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lee. It's lovely to be here.
Are you a dead man walking?
Look, we've had some difficult days. I absolutely accept that. But we decided today that we were not going to go into the abyss that the former Labor government went into, not once but twice, sacking elected leaders. And I think the public can be relieved that the decision the party room made today was that if the electorate votes for a government and a Prime Minister, it can expect to keep the government and the Prime Minister until it's time for the electorate to choose again.
More than half of your own backbench, though, thinks that you're not up to the job. That must be devastating.
Well, obviously, we've had a couple of tough months, no doubt about that, a couple of tough months. And the Queensland election result was obviously a bit seismic. So I can understand people's anxieties, but the point that I've been making to my colleagues is that I am a fighter. I know how to beat Labor Party leaders. I beat Kevin Rudd. I beat Julia Gillard. I can beat Bill Shorten as well. What I'm not good at is fighting the Liberal Party, and that's why I say to all of my colleagues, we will now go on together to build a better Australia and to point out that Bill Shorten has no answers, he just has a complaint.
How can you go on together when, as I say, more than half of your own backbench doesn't believe that you're up to the job?
Well, that was one vote at a very difficult time. And we now have a future to grasp.
But that's given us an insight into the attitude within your own party room. These people are your backers.
Look, we can dwell on these things, or we can look at what the government is going to do in the days and weeks ahead. And we are going to have a new childcare package, which will be very good for people, more money in their pockets. We are going to have a new small business and jobs package with a small business tax cut. And I think all of these are the sort of focus on jobs and families that the Australian public wants.
Prime Minister, you've been a student of politics all your life. Political history would suggest that you cannot recover from such a significant vote of no confidence within your own side.
I think that political history shows that many governments have been through difficult periods. You might remember, Lee, I was a junior member of the Howard government in its first term, and it was widely expected to be a one-term government for the last 12 months or so of its
But John Howard didn't have leadership pressure.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I can remember those times very well. And I can remember stories about tensions between different people and the Prime Minister. I can remember early in 2001 there was a lot of talk about John Howard not lasting the week.
He never faced a spill motion with half of his colleagues basically thinking he wasn't up to it.
Well, Lee, look, we can dwell on the Canberra insider stuff, and obviously, if you want to talk about it, I'm not going to run away from that. Or we can talk about the sorts of things that this government wants to do now, because there were lessons in last year. Plainly, we did bite off more than we can chew in some important respects, and what I'm determined to be is much more consultative and collegial this year. We won't shirk the big issues the way the Labor Party is shirking the big issues, but we will address them in a different way. We will socialise decisions before we finalise them. In that way, we're more likely to take the people with us.
Did you ask some of your colleagues today for 6 more months to recover?
No, I did not.
You've not put a time frame on it.
Look, the thing is, every party leader is being tested every day. I accept that. I'm being tested every day, and I am hoping that every day I will substantially pass the test. And that's how you build up. That's how you build up strength and credibility by every day passing those tests.
Is it fair to say that you haven't passed enough of those tests so far?
Well, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, and I guess that's me as a human being and as a politician. I've never been a skite, and I don't intend to start now, and I've never been someone to blow my own trumpet, or indeed to start saying that we're the best thing since sliced bread. But we said we'd get rid of the carbon tax, it's gone. We said we'd stop the boats, they've stopped. We've said we'd build the roads, and with the big exception of Victoria, where the new Labor government is spending $1 billion not to build the road, the roads are going ahead, and sure, budget repair has proven a big challenge, Lee, but a good start has been made.
But Prime Minister, that is the exact message that you've been giving over and over again for quite some time, yet your disapproval rating in the news poll that was out today was 68%. Clearly the public is not buying what you're saying there.
Well, I accept, Lee, that things have got to be a little different in the future, perhaps quite considerably different. I accept that, Lee. And one of the points that I made in my speech to the press club last week is that if you look at what New Zealand did with fiscal consolidation, they had a very tight clamp on new spending. They didn't engage in big cuts. They had a tight clamp on new spending. And New Zealand has got a government as a percentage of GDP from 35% to 30%, a very big change in just a few years.
Prime Minister, if you do your best and you're unable to turn things around in a reasonable time frame, will you give your colleagues a promise tonight that you will step aside to give them a fighting chance with somebody else's leader?
Well, I am going to give them a fighting chance of winning the election. And I think that's exactly what I can do. But what I'm not going to do...
What if you can't do it, Prime Minister? Will you give them a reasonable amount of time to try to hold on to power with somebody else?
Lee, what I'm not going to do is play these Canberra games of ruling in this or ruling out that, or hypothesising about what might happen down the track.
Haven't you upset your colleagues, though, by implying that the only way that you can be removed is if the electorate votes you out? And actually we have a Westminster system and you are at the helm because your colleagues put you there.
I absolutely accept that. And then we went through an election, and that's another element. It's not necessarily the absolutely overriding or only element, but what all of us want now is to give the government a good fighting chance of recovery, because we are grappling with the real issues. We're grappling with economic security, particularly the fiscal issue, the budget issue. We're doing a very good job on national security, despite the difficulties. We're doing an excellent job on things like free trade agreements, which are setting up the future. So there are all these good things happening, and I want to give us the best possible chance to capitalise on that.
You said at your press conference a few hours ago that good government starts today. If that is so, what on earth have you been delivering for the time since you've been elected?
Well, I don't say that there's been no good government. In fact, I think there's been...
good government starts today. That's exactly what you said.
Starts every day. Starts at the beginning of every day. But we have had, Lee, and I don't want to play word games with you, but we have had, obviously, a period of introspection over the last couple of weeks. That's gone. We've put that behind us. And again, if you don't mind me saying so, Lee, there is a lot of good news out there, as well as a lot of disappointing news. Economic growth, 2.7% now, 1.9% a year ago. Jobs growth, 3 times in 2014,
How can you say
and
that
in
you put it behind
2013.
you and such a significant block of your own party room has lost confidence in your leadership?
Well, the important thing is to ensure that having been returned, the confidence and the trust grows. And every day, that's exactly what I'll be doing.
Why have you been giving Australians a government with training wheels on?
Well, every government grows into the role, and as I said to you, the Howard government was a better government for most of its second term than it was for most of its first term, and it was probably a better government for most of its third term than it was for most of its second term. So we will get better, and I am determined, Lee. I am absolutely determined that we will be a better government this year than we were in every respect last year, and that's what the people elected us to be, the best possible government, and we would be not the best possible government if we engaged in endless navel-gazing and musical chairs when it comes to leadership.
We've had the Tony Abbott in opposition, a guy who promised no more chaos, the adults back in charge, there'd no excuses, no broken promises. Then there's the Tony Abbott that we've had so far in government with the surprise policies and the broken promises and the captain's picks. Now you're offering us a third Tony Abbott, one who's going to change. Who are you?
Well, Lee, let's just focus for a second on the captain's picks. There have essentially been two captain's picks. There was the
Can you actually just focus on the big picture there? Because there's been three different Tony Abbotts. I just want to know, which one are you? Who are you?
Well, I will let the Australian people form their own conclusions, but let's just go back to the captain's picks. There's been two of them. The paid parental leave scheme that went to 2 elections, but I accept that good policy, though it would be in different circumstances, now is not the right time for an expansion of paid parental leave. And then, of course, there was the knighthood. Now, all of these awards in the Order of Australia are now being handled entirely by the Council of the Order of Australia.
How about my point, though, that there have been three, we're up to Tony Abbott 3.0. Do you accept that you have thoroughly confused the public about what your government is and what you stand for?
Let's look at the situation that we inherited, Lee.
Can we just look at the big picture about you?
I'd rather have a conversation rather than an argument, Lee.
I think it's a reasonable question and one that voters would be asking themselves, and it would be remiss of me not to put to you.
And let me answer it by saying, going into the last election, the then government was saying that the deficit would be $18 billion. It turned out to be $48 billion. There was a $30 billion budget break that the Labor Party had created, should have known about and wasn't telling us about.
Time has expired.
Obviously, when the circumstances change, there are some things that have to change with them. Now, I absolutely accept, Lee, that I said on the standing on the Panthers the night before the election that there'd be no cuts to the ABC. But let's face it, Lee, the ABC for 18 years had no efficiency dividend. And when there are spending restraint across a whole area of government policy, surely under those circumstances it is possible to revise that particular commitment.
But it's interesting that you're not able to answer the question to me, who are you? What do you stand for? Which Tony are you?
Well, obviously we stand for a government which believes in lower taxes, smaller government, greater freedom. We are a government that believes in values and institutions that have stood the test of time. Above all else, though, we are a pragmatic government which wants to do what works. And if we try to do something sensible one way and it doesn't work, we'll try to bring about the same sensible outcome in a different way. And there are challenges, Lee. We at least accept that there is a serious fiscal challenge, that a bit of intergenerational theft has been going on, that the former government started, and we are determined to fix. The Labor Party is in denial about all these things. Now, you can embrace a government which is not perfect, but which is at least fair income, or you can go with the people who gave us the problem and now trying to say that it's none of their fault and they're not even going to address it.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for making time to speak to us on this very busy day.
Thank you, Lee.